this is the best time for you to be entrepreneurs. And because the pace of change is so fast, and with all the AI tools available, you can build your company in a much shorter time period. If you take too long, it's too late anyway. So speed is of the essence, and GSB provides all the tools that any student would want, more than they would have time for in reality. But it does equip them with everything they need to go make it happen.
There's a strange journey that happens at universities like Stanford. Someone walks into a classroom with an idea that might sound completely crazy, and sometimes a few years later, that idea has customers, employees, investors, and a valuation attached to it. So today, I want to understand what actually happens in between those 2 points. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of School to Startup, brought to you by Tracxn, a private market intelligence platform that's been supporting the global university ecosystem for over 12 years. Through our university partnerships, we work with institutions driving innovation, entrepreneurship, and this series highlights the academic leaders making that happen. I'm Harish, your host today. Uh, Today we have joining us with me is our guest, Raj Joshi from Stanford Graduate School of Business. Welcome to the show, Raj.
Thank you, Harish. Happy to be here and looking forward to this conversation.
Great. Let me start with a simple question. What is it about the Stanford environment that makes people believe their crazy idea might actually work?
Okay. So see, fundamentally, Stanford Graduate School of Business is in the belly of Silicon Valley, which is where the future is being created. And with that as the backdrop, students who come to GSB have that mindset to begin with, that they want to be entrepreneurs, they want to innovate, that they will have access to the startup ecosystem. So it sets that expectation. And these are all very bright students. And when you surround them with what we do here at Stanford, literally magic happens. The culture is so vibrant. When classes begin in a couple of weeks and the new class comes in, they come with so much enthusiasm, so much motivation, ambition, and talent. And when you put that together, um, it does create interesting ideas, game-changing ideas, world-changing ideas, not just at GSB, but Stanford overall. Of course, a lot of the world's most successful companies have been started here on campus. The biggest one is Google. And so you're following in those footsteps, and it is truly magical. It is a joy to be on campus engaging with these students, teaching them. They teach us as well. It's a two-way street. And given the state of times, there can't be a better time than now for these bright young students globally. They come from all over the world to come to GSB and then discover, create, dream, and then make things happen.
Interesting. And looking back at that journey, what's one thing about teaching and working with students that has surprised you the most?
So I've been now doing this for 5 years, going on my 6th year at Stanford. And the one consistent theme that comes out is the students themselves. And if you think about it, big picture, universities in general focus on students. Students are the product of the universities. And they become the ambassadors of the university when they go out into the marketplace. So the one thing that absolutely stands out is the quality of the students. which, of course, with the quality of the faculty, and I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues, it is unparalleled. There are Nobel laureates walking around the campus, and some really deep, innovative thinkers. The campus itself is beautiful. So putting all this together, the one thing that stands out is the mindset of the students.
Interesting. And of course, Stanford has obviously become synonymous with entrepreneurship. So, what do you think Stanford does particularly well in creating an environment where students and faculty feel encouraged to turn ideas into ventures?
So most of the GSB classes are case-driven. And Stanford has an interesting model, which I know other universities also do, but I have experienced it myself here. I'm not an academic. I worked in the industry for 35 plus years, did some interesting entrepreneurial ventures as well, but I'm not an academic. However, I get paired up with now my friend, Dr. Robert Bergelman, who is a legend in business strategy, has been teaching at Stanford for 40 years. He wrote a case study on one of my startups when I co-founded Infosys Consulting, the management consulting arm of Infosys. He wrote a case study on us. And that's how the connection happened between me and Stanford. But it's the case study approach, which brings real life examples that makes a big difference. And then the faculty get paired up. So Robert is a tenure track professor, has been teaching business strategy forever. He's written many, many books and case studies. He brings timeless frameworks to the class. And I bring practical experience of having done it to the class. So the two of us co-teach, and it makes for a very vibrant discussion when you pair up frameworks with how it actually happens in the field. That makes a big difference. The case studies that I have written in the last 4 or 5 years, I've written about 20, are of companies that are making things happen, like Tesla, Uber, Google Cloud, Snowflake, Autodesk, Deutsche Telekom, and I could go on and on. And we invite the CEOs and the CXOs of these companies to the class, and they actually show up. Some of them fly in from all around because they want to engage with these students. That is why they come to the class, because they want to engage with students, get tough questions asked, and in many ways, it's their way of giving back. So that is what fosters the creativity and the imagination and solving impossible problems. I'll mention one other thing. So this is student-led, by the way. There is a program called View from the Top. And once a month, the students invite a CEO, and we have had Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, many other CEOs, and people who have accomplished a lot, whether they're in private equity or capital markets. They come to the campus, and in a fireside chat, students ask them very interesting questions. And that is also very inspiring, not just for the students, but me as well. I attend every View from the Top because it's such a fantastic learning experience.
Amazing. So, if I were a Stanford student with a startup idea tomorrow, what's one resource or the opportunity around me that I might be, underutilizing?
Or overutilizing, but it's a great question, Harish. So a lot of the classes at Stanford are what you would expect in an MBA program. But there are some classes that you would not expect. There's a class called Startup Garage, where you have students who want to become entrepreneurs, who have ideas. And a lot of these students who come here come with an idea, and they're basically looking to deepen their understanding of the problem and the idea, look for co-founders, and then when they graduate, you will hear all kinds of announcements. Okay, we have started this venture with these co-founders and so on and so forth. But they typically go through Startup Garage. And the Startup Garage is taught by people like me who have been entrepreneurs, have gone out, built companies, and now they are teaching Startup Garage. So when you learn from people who have done it, you are able to accelerate your journey. And this time is like no other time. This is the best time for you to be entrepreneurs. And because the pace of change is so fast, and with all the AI tools available, you can build your company in a much shorter time period. If you take too long, it's too late anyway. So speed is of the essence, and GSB provides all the tools that any student would want, more than they would have time for in reality. But it does equip them with everything they need to go make it happen. One thing they come with, by the way, is their mindset, their ambition, their desire.
Amazing. So let's come back to the startups, right? So, what are some of the most important things early stage founders tend to overlook when they are busy chasing the growth?
Well, so I won't mention the standard things that people will overlook, right? You have to have the passion and the energy and so on and so forth. That's more or less given. But quite often, early stage companies don't understand their flywheel. In fact, the whole flywheel concept was pioneered by my co-teacher, Dr. Bergelman, many years ago. And then it was made popular by Jim Collins when he wrote a book on business flywheels. The point is, if you're a startup, early stage company, you need to know what your flywheel of growth is. What are the levers you need to pull so that the flywheel starts spinning? And once the flywheel starts spinning, look out. I try to not mention names, but I'll mention one name because this is public knowledge: Uber. When I wrote the case study on Uber, I really got into the details of how Uber has succeeded and where it is today. One thing that stuck out to me was the fact that early on, the Uber founder and founders realized what their flywheel was. And once they figured it out, it was all a matter of execution, go from one city to another city to another city. Execution mattered a lot more, but they knew what their flywheel was. Another aspect that startup founders don't necessarily fully grasp is why are customers going to pay good money for their product? The flip side is value. Customers only buy if they see value. And this thesis has not changed for all time. It's true today as well. I'm not going to buy if I don't see value in the product. And so how do you communicate the value proposition so it is compelling and it will drive growth? The third point I'll mention is to make sure that the product is simple. If it's complex, you don't understand it, you're not going to buy it. It has to be simple. If it is simple, even if it is game changing, you have to make it simple for somebody to say, okay, I will deploy it in my business. If it is simple, they will adopt. Customers will adopt. If it is not simple, they buy, they might not be able to get the full value, they will churn. So step one, make it simple. Step two, make sure there is adoption. If there is adoption, then that leads to value. And That again is the one common factor every startup has to worry about.
Interesting. And again, focusing back on universities, technology is changing incredibly quickly, particularly with AI. So, if you were redesigning entrepreneurship education for the next 5 years, what's one thing you would teach that isn't being taught enough today?
All right, it's a fantastic question, Harish, because it is so relevant today. And let me step back and talk about university education in general, not necessarily Stanford GSP, right? So if you're an undergraduate student anywhere in the world, you're going through the usual slew of classes and books and curriculum and so on and so forth, which hasn't changed a lot in years. Okay, you could argue that that is foundational education that every person needs. If you're an engineer, you need to know the fundas, the fundamentals. But today, and more importantly, tomorrow, AI will be able to personalize education for every individual. So, what exactly are you going to go to universities to learn? Is the question that I want to ask everyone, including myself. My answer is, and it could be an existential question that we have to solve as humanity, is how do you educate the young students coming up through the ranks? They're going to universities, committing 4 years of their life. Is that necessary? And my answer is yes. But it has to change. The students have to personalize education using AI for uh, things like math and English and the foundational skills. But they have to treat that 4-year course to teach themselves social skills. How do you communicate? How do you motivate? How do you inspire yourself? How do you inspire others? Uh, Nobody teaches these skills, but the most successful business leaders have these skills. And that's what the students need to focus on without compromising their foundational skills in the discipline they choose. The other thing I would say is don't stress about where you go and what you're going to learn, because you will eventually figure out what you want to do. Use AI to educate yourself. And so, I'm sure there are people who have heard about dropouts. Um, okay, you'll see more of that now going forward. And that's okay, as long as you figure out how you're going to create value for yourself by creating value for others. So I think the whole education game is shifting and is going to accelerate in the next 3 to 5 years.
Amazing. And I think resources like Tracxn or any other private market intelligence platform is also kind of boosting that type of education when it comes to entrepreneurship. So my next question is, from what we see, universities can use Tracxn in quite a few different ways, from classroom projects and faculty research to incubation programs, market research, and understanding emerging sectors. So, from your perspective, where do you see the biggest value of the platforms like Tracxn across a university ecosystem?
I would say providing a diversity of opinions and thoughts and ideas. It is easy for any university to get very focused on what they do, but not have visibility into what others are doing. And for students, that diversity uh, will be important, because with that diversity of ideas and opinions, they will figure out, okay, this is what I want to do in my life. Um, and so platforms like Tracxn have a lot to offer, um, but recognize how the world is changing, and it's changing really fast, especially here in Silicon Valley. I see the change every day. And we're in some sort of a bubble, but that bubble is expanding. And How will it be in 3 years is the question, not 10 years anymore. How will it be in 3 years? And build the platform to serve the market 3 years out.
Interesting. And finally, you might be doing it every day inside the campus. But if you had one piece of advice for a student sitting in a university who thinks they might want to build a company someday, what would you tell them to do before they graduate?
Another great question. Um, I would say do your startup now. Don't wait for next year because the world would have changed. Things are changing fast. Besides, I think the best education any student can get while they're in university is to do their startup. It will teach you so much. It will teach you about yourself, about accountability, taking responsibility. You're not reporting to anybody else now. You're reporting to yourself. Hold yourself accountable. You learn more about yourself and challenge yourself to step up your game. It will teach you skills that will be very important once you graduate. You're not just a person who has created or learned about knowledge. You also have learned about different skills that will apply no matter what you end up doing. So, in many ways, I think we will see more and more students doing their startups because the barrier to entry is very small now. You can't come up with an excuse that, oh, wait a minute, I don't have the tools. They're there. And um, if you have a digital idea, especially, there is absolutely no reason for you to not launch a startup. Find your co founders. That itself will teach you teaming and leadership and communications, the ability to convince and influence. But it's not too long before we will see single founder unicorns. It's already happening. I know of at least one instance where that has happened. Can you imagine single founder solo $1 billion entity? The opportunity is there. Uh, Students have to just seize it.
Very well said. I know 30 minutes is really not enough to capture all the wisdom you have got. But thank you very much for accepting the invitation to participate in this episode. Today's conversation was incredible, from the classroom to startups, AI, entrepreneurship, and the role of real-time data. We explored what it really takes to turn an idea into action. Thank you very much, Raj, for joining us and sharing your experiences and insights.
My pleasure. Thank you as well.
Great. For all who are watching, if you have enjoyed this episode, like, comment, and subscribe to the Tracxn channel. And don't forget to click the bell icon so you don't miss the next episode of School to Startup. See you in the next one.